Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
And so why do people vote against their best interest? You know,
That's a very good question. That is the $1 million
never
question.
understood.
One explanation, because it truly is a mystery, and I think sociologists and psychologists will talk about it forever. But one thing that I have heard from one person, I have two theories. One is that there is enough that they're voting against that it seems worth it enough to them to vote, even though they're voting against their own interest, because let's say abortion is more important to them, or anti-immigration sentiments are more important to them, or anti-gay, or there's enough out there that they're voting that they hate, that they don't mind that it's at their own expense, and they don't even think about it like that. The second thing is, I had a friend who said that her father, who is a vet, who lost his job, who is in very dire straits, and he votes Republican. And I said, well, why? Because it seems like all these people do is against him. And she said, because he wants to think of himself as that person who can pull himself by the... He doesn't need help from the government. He doesn't need handouts. He's an American, he's living the American... If he only pulls himself out, but if he only applies himself, this is the land of opportunities. So basically, it's like admitting their own defeat if they're voting for a party that espouses, let's all come together as a community. Let's help one another. Let's, we're doing this together. It's not, so
it was like Jared Kushner saying, if only black people wanted to be successful as much as we want them to be successful.
Exactly.
They would be successful.
Exactly. There is such a thing as institutional racism, but never mind. I want to also say that one thing that always struck me as one of the very basic reasons as to why this country is so divided is that we're a huge country.
Oh my God.
We're a huge country, and it's like putting one government over all of Europe. There are places with different needs, different points of view, different priorities, different value systems, and we have to all try to come together and agree on everything. It's hugely difficult, and I've always found that to be...
It's almost impossible. And honestly, I think we need to be two countries. I think that people say we're so divided now, and it's how are we going to come together? I don't know that we can ever come together. I really don't know. And now that Trump has opened Pandora's box,
yes,
and we have seen the true nature of what nearly half of our citizens feel.
Yep.
It's not sub rosa. It's not in little back rooms. It's out there, out and proud, carrying guns and being racist and misogynist and anti-Semitic and homophobic. How can we ever live together?
And I just read, because many of our listeners probably watched Borat, both movies. And I read an interview with Borat, and he said that the main difference between when he did the first movie and when he did the second movie was that the first movie, you had to really come close to a person, make them feel like you're of the similar mindset.
Right, to get them to talk.
To get them to confess how they really feel about things.
Right.
He said this time it was out there. It was proud, out loud. It was So I think that's the major thing that Trump did. He just emboldened them to feel proud of those kind of sentiments.
Yes, he gave them agency to be homophobic, racist, misogynistic. Even the women are misogynistic.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Even the women. Again, this Trevor Noah thing that he had one of his reporters out talking to people at a Trump rally. And there was just a woman who just insisted that the president had to be a man. Women can't be hormones. They'll just be starting wars every day. And he said, well, hasn't it been men who've started all the wars? And she stopped for a second. And she said, yes, but I still see the president's job as being a man.
Yeah.
You can confront them with the truth, and they will acknowledge it, and they will see no irony in what they're saying.
Speaking of confronting them with the truth, there's another thing. People may have heard of this crazy thing called QAnon.
Oh, boy.
And this is another big problem that we've had now that I can't believe we actually are dealing with, which is conspiracy theories.
Oh,
and
we've always dealt with conspiracy
No, but I mean,
theories,
they're
but now
This
really-
is like crazy
Out in the
shit
open.
that
They-
even conspiracy theories think are
They
crazy.
elected a QAnon,
QAnon.
person
Yeah.
to be a representative.
Yep.
So,
And she ran unopposed. Really?
really?
We could have run against her. I mean,
Where-
what
where
the hell?
That is
Where is
awful.
she
And was
from?
it Georgia? Georgia? No.
I don't
Something
know.
southern.
I don't know,
Oh,
but
no kidding. Although the Midwest has its,
it has
Oh,
its moments.
trust me.
yeah.
No, but I mean, to think, I mean, that they actually believe that, I mean, I don't know.
Did you see what I posted yesterday? I took it off of the television where they were explaining what QAnon was when they caught two people were going to from Virginia had driven in their flag waving
Some sort of truck with a flag.
trucks, to attack poll workers in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And they had all these QAnon stickers all over everything. And he just explained that it's a cult of people who believe that Democrats and Hollywood celebrities eat children, drink their blood, and worship Satan, and that Trump
And don't
is...
forget the pedophilia rings.
Yes.
Well, yes, right.
Yes.
Well, this is even worse. They eat them.
Yeah, they eat them.
They
Well,
drink,
on the
they
Hunter
drink their
Biden
blood.
hard drive, there was pictures and video of him raping Chinese babies.
Allegedly.
Alleged, yeah.
Yes.
It's not, I mean, it's hard to even say because it's so.
I can't even say it.
And then also, there's the JFK Jr. part of it where
He's
when
alive.
this all, well, he is alive because he's going to come when Trump saves everyone. Pence gets kicked out, and JFK Jr. becomes vice president.
That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Why?
I have no idea, but it's part of that. I mean, it's so.
It is. It's
Well, and you know what?
so cucamonga.
So
It's
let's-
so crazy that you can't conceive of the fact that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are subscribing to it.
So this is a good time to introduce another question we were asked, which is, do we think that part of this and part of the rise of extreme right-wing sentiments and fascism has to do with social media? Has it contributed to it? And
Yes.
I think that definitely when
Indubitably.
you have a place for people to congregate anonymously and spread lies.
It's actually the device, the catalyst that spreads the cancer. The cancer is
Exactly.
there.
And
Yes,
especially when you
exactly.
have, Russian bots that disseminate and inflame even further.
Well, and right wing. I mean, we just
And
used to have talk
unregulated
radio.
platforms. They're unregulated.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg is at great fault.
Yeah. Well, and the whole deregulation of everything that started with
Net
Reagan, right?
neutrality.
I mean, Reagan was the one who really began the deregulation.
Yeah. Well, deregulation
Is a curse.
no, yeah. I mean, regulation is like one of the things that Americans are afraid of more than anything
And
else.
regulation is what gives them lower costs on things. That gives
It protects them from corporation preying on them.
monopolies and predatory sales tactics. Airline prices.
The air we breathe, the water we drink,
Right.
everything, our livelihoods, our lives, everything.
It is my freedom to drink bad water
Exactly. Go ahead.
and breathe polluted air.
Now, I had a friend who asked me. So this, I'll ask. It's kind of two parts of the same question. One person asked, "How come we let a white old man be our representative again as a Democrat?" And another person asked, "Is he the lesser of two evils, or do we really like him?"
Well,
let's.
I really like him.
I like him too.
And-
he's not my first choice, but
No.
he's a good man. I think he's right for the moment.
Yes, he's experienced. He knows how to deal across the aisle. He is a known deal maker. He is a known person to make coalitions with the other side. He's about the most honest person on the planet.
Very.
We know him. And listen, Hillary lost election cycle. I don't think we could really, especially in this climate, put another woman up against Donald Trump.
Agreed. And also people will vote for a white man. It's sorry.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Exactly.
Well,
but I think he's going to be a president of tremendous change.
I
just
do too.
picking Harris, he
Exactly.
is going to truly be a bridge to the next generation in politics.
I agree.
Exactly. I think two things. I think the first thing is that he may not have been my first choice because he is, kind of theoretically the dull choice after having such a primary full of exciting. But by choosing Kamala Harris, he definitely both chose his opposite to complete him and complement him, and I think signaled to everybody the way he's going to govern. And I'm so excited to see his nominations, his appointments. I'm so excited to see who he's going to get in his cabinet. I know that it's going to be great people.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right.
No, but the second thing I wanted to say is that I didn't really know Joe much before everything, and the more I know about him, the more I admire him. He has overcome such
Oh my God.
pain and
Tragedy.
hardship, always with a positive attitude. Always, he is a really, really.
He
He's
wears
a
his
special
heart
guy.
on his sleeve.
And
Oh,
he's
very much so.
truly a man of service. He is there because he believes he has a role to play, and he truly cares. And I think
He does.
I think that is not to be taken for
He
granted in
cares
today's
about
election.
everybody. And, white is not inherently bad.
Right.
It's just that there are so many bad white people.
That's right.
And people of color in this country have been underrepresented and treated so unfairly for 400 years that they deserve to be governing. They deserve, and they are in greater numbers than ever before. And we had a black president. What we haven't had is a female president. And that really goes to show you where so much of the problems in this country lie.
I think it is important, though, to mention, because you did mention, Hillary lost. We couldn't take that chance again. I do think that it's important to mention Hillary was the most qualified person in the country.
in ever.
And
Ever in the history of all time.
She
Ever in
should
the
have
history,
won,
yes.
but she had a lot stacked up against her. And in addition to the fact that she's a woman, she was a woman who came with baggage of 40 years of the Republicans smearing her name in every possible way, because she's been a strong woman from the start. She was married to a strong and beloved Democratic president.
But she was always resented because she didn't take
Stay
the role
home
as
and
the
bake
little woman.
cookies. Yes.
Yeah.
She paved the way for Michelle Obama.
And
Oh,
for
God.
Kamala Harris.
For Kamala Harris, who should be thanking her right off the bat in
You're
her
not
speech.
kidding.
She has, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I just want to put it out there. She didn't lose because she wasn't, and she did, by the way, win 3 million more votes.
I was going to say, personally, I think this election really vindicates Hillary because if so many people voted for Trump
Again.
if it was so close, they voted for him again after what we have seen, what kind of a monster, what kind of a sick, narcissistic sociopath we have in the White House. They still voted for him.
Yep.
Hillary didn't bring the wrath of the country down on her. Those people are just out there
Yep.
voting for the wrong people.
Right.
And on the record, Hillary Clinton was right about every
single thing
that happened. She predicted everything.
Everything.
that happened.
Yes. Yes.
And they were like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
She's,
yeah.
She
Exactly.
knows her shit. Yeah, talk about
she is-
prepared. There will
oh,
never be a candidate
Never.
as
What a
qualified
loss.
as
Not
her.
as long as we live.
I'm still not over it. I'll never be over it.
Oh, it will never be over.
None of us will be.
Absolutely. So before we get to a couple of final questions, do you think, we've talked about a lot of the disadvantages of the system that we have right now. Do you think that there are advantages to the system also?
Well, we do get to vote.
Yeah.
That's a big
I mean,
advantage
we can't forget that we are some of the most lucky people on earth
the
to
world.
live in this country.
That's true.
No, and I
and
never
to
forget it.
Not anymore. Our passport used to be gold. Not right now.
Not right now. But I used to be
Yeah,
very
of course.
patriotic. I lost a lot of my feeling of national pride when I realized how many of us there were that spit on really what this country is supposed to be,
Yeah.
and how little of what goes on in this country is what is supposed to be.
It made me more patriotic. This has made me more patriotic.
Really?
Because I feel like I took for granted the rights I had, certain rights. I mean, there are certain rights I've been fighting for decades, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
it did make me more patriotic because I'm like trying to fight for this country.
Right.
It used to be I was fighting for certain things. Now I feel like I'm fighting for democracy.
For the spirit
Yes,
of the
that's-
country.
Yeah, the spirit of the country. That's
Now,
right.
I didn't feel that we had to. I felt that it was a given. It ain't a given, baby.
Yeah.
There-
Right. I
It was
saying I took it for
snatched.
granted.
It was snatched right out of our hands for the
So
last 4
quickly, too.
years. And it also goes to show you how much of what this country is built on is dependent on good people doing the right thing. Because
Yes.
the president shattering all those norms of behavior and of accountability, all of those things that all our other presidents to a large degree went along with as to honor the office, to honor the country.
Yes.
All he had to do was not do it.
Right.
And nothing happened to him.
Right.
Yep.
Because
was
the
the-
Senate
Because the
allowed
Republicans enabled him, right? Because all they
Yep.
cared about was their own jobs, their own assets, their own careers, and that's again, that's the sad part about it. I just want to, before we finish this, there are a couple more questions, and one of them is about the Constitution and what it takes to amend it, and who gets to amend it. And so I just want to say, so the Constitution is, again, it's very hard to amend the Constitution, though we have managed to do that in the past. It requires a lot of people being on board. So it requires it requires 2/3 of both the
houses.
House and the Senate, and then it requires 3/4 of the states,
To
that's
ratify.
38 out of the 50, to also ratify, which is why we don't yet have the Equal Rights
Well,
Amendment.
That's right.
have our,
35.
we
If you've
finally
watched-
got
Yeah.
our
Yeah, but now
38
Mitch
was a
McConnell won't
but
let it go to
They
the
said it
Senate.
expired.
It expired.
This is why, if you watch Mrs. America, all of you out there,
What are they
I'm
afraid
so
of?
happy that there's shows, TV shows, and movies to actually bring these things to the people. Mrs. America is exactly about that, about having to go and lobby each state separately to try to get them to ratify an amendment.
And if Phyllis Schlafly hadn't decided that she wanted to use that as a vehicle to become Secretary of State, we would have had the Equal Right Amendment that year. We had the votes.
And by
And
the
how men use women against each other.
exactly,
Yes.
always the
That she
cat
was the
fight.
spokesperson
Yeah.
Yep.
for anti-women.
And by the way, some people apparently, I think in Switzerland, for example, people have to vote on constitutional amendments. We don't get to vote. It's our candidates, our
supposedly our
lawmakers,
representatives who we voted for.
right? But we
make
don't
these
vote
decisions for
directly.
us, right.
However, we do have some local referendums and things like that.
Yep.
Some states do have referendums every time there's an election. They put out various. This is how Prop 8 happened in California, which meant which people voted on, and 52% decided that there shouldn't be.
Ended up being a good thing, though.
There shouldn't be marriage equality in the state of California. The reason I just want to explain that Mimi says that it was a good thing is because it fired up the LGBT community to go and demand our rights.
Right.
And this is how.
I don't know if we would have had marriage equality without Prop 8.
Right, because it
Yeah.
really made us realize that
Especially now.
we need to demand.
Especially now. Well,
Yeah.
we're so,
Well, we'll see.
Look at New York. New York is there.
Yep.
I'm watching
It's
it on
exciting.
MSNBC, and they are
And in
just,
front of the White House.
It's exciting.
I wish, look at them in front of the White House.
Washington Square.
I wish this is one of the few times when.
Well, we're gonna go.
Except that Liron wouldn't have let me out of the house anyway
No.
to go and march with my people.
I actually want to end with a question that was made for me because I want to use this opportunity to talk about a couple of things that we didn't have a chance to bring up and that we were not going to have the opportunity to really go in, but I think they're important. And somebody asked me, because I come from another country, and this is a different political system to what I knew my whole life, how do I feel about it? And I want to say that, the political system that I come from has its own flaws. For example, in Israel, there are a lot of different small parties. And so in the end, in order to form a coalition, the big party has to bow to the extortion of the little party because it needs those 2 votes. So it's going to give it, so these small parties representing very small populations end up having more power than they should have. So every political system has its flaws and has its advantages. I think that the 3 big problems that I see with America at the moment are, first of all, racism, which unfortunately our political system is based on and perpetuated by. And I think that is a huge problem.
I think, though, and we know it exists. Now that we know the extent to which it exists, we always knew it existed.
But
now
we didn't always know because there were so many people who claimed we live in a post-racist society, which is bullshit.
Now that we know the extent,
it's like post-feminism, right?
It can be dealt with.
I hope so.
At least it's starting to be acknowledged.
Yes.
And look how long it took.
Look how long.
Someone to get killed. Another person.
So many, please.
Because it was
You know what it took? It took a camera, because we didn't used to carry phones with cameras on us all the time, so we didn't see these things, but they happened all the time anyway. The second thing,
8 minutes.
The second thing, and actually the second and the third are kind of related, is individualism, which is something, it's the cult of individualism that this society, the American society, is based on, which is not something that other countries necessarily go by. A lot of other countries, it's about your service to your community. It's about society and what's better for the society as a whole. America really prides itself on individualism, and it shows. And that goes hand in hand with the god of capitalism, which is what really drives this country.
Money.
And the fear,
and power.
The deep fear that these people in this country have of socialism. First of all, their lack of understanding of the difference between socialism and communism.
Oh my God!
That they think that giving people health care is one step closer to fascism.
The slippery slope
Is insane. And the fact that the survival of the fittest mentality, instead of understanding, and by the way, if you go back to biology, a subject matter that I am deeply in love with, if you go back to biology and look at the survival of the species throughout time, it's not the fittest who survived, the individualist fittest who survived, is those who managed to work together as a community to delegate roles.
The ants, the bees,
those were the ones
the elephants.
Those were the ones who survived, absolutely, and who made societies better for themselves. So I think that capitalism, and this is exactly one of the reasons that Trump got so many votes this time, because they went on this socialism platform, scaring people to think that the Democrats are socialists.
Yep.
Well, and also that Trump claimed to be such a great businessman that he will revolutionize the economy, which was fantastic to begin with under Obama. Yes, he inherited exactly.
Yeah, and drove it to the ground like he does with all of it.
With everything,
That's right.
He drives everything. He turns gold into shit.
And all these people who thought he was a good businessman. I mean, the man was born with a father who gave him everything he had. So he ended up with millions of dollars and businesses, many of which he broke into the ground. Exactly. He got bankruptcies. He lost money. He's in debt for millions and millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions.
Exactly.
And he has a trail of people who are unpaid.
Right.
Workers. Exactly. The people he's supposed to, the people who love him.
Yeah.
Unpaid.
So all of these...
Not even pennies on a dollar, just unpaid.
If they only actually did their research rather than just believe him and, fall for his lies, they would know that he's a fraud himself. He claims all of this is a fraud. He's the fraud. He's the biggest fraud. But unfortunately, a lot of our system, and not just the people, a lot of our system is geared towards capitalism. The fact that corporations are people, the fact that corporations, that Jeff Bezos and Amazon pay zero in taxes, all these things are the things that are ruining this country.
That's right.
And the fact that the most basic, it's not socialism, it's caring about yourself and your fellow citizen, to want to have health care, to want to have certain social, net safety nets.
A high tide rises all boats, or
Yeah, exactly.
We progress together.
as a society.
Doors.
Not at odds, but helping each other up.
And when you look at the countries around the world that have the best quality of life, it's countries that offer those exact things.
The Scandinavian, of course, they have their own problems.
Listen, but when I came to this country and realized that people here don't want to have cheap, affordable health care, I was like, why would you not want... Who in their right minds would not want... Okay, so somebody just got the worst diagnosis in their life, and the first thing they want to care about is how much is this going to cost me?
Of course.
Why? Why would you want to give money to health insurance companies that have tons of money, that are ripping you off, that are robbing you? I don't know, and they say it. We don't want your health care. Why? I just don't get it. Because they've been fed lies. Because they've been told
you're going to have to stand in line for 6 months.
Right. And you know what?
And it's one step closer to a communist country.
The thing is that there are some problems with socialized medicine, but we're not calling for socialized medicine. We're calling for health care for
an
all.
Option for people who can't afford it.
Exactly.
Well, but it has to be.
If you don't like socialism, well, then I'm sorry, you just lost your job. You can't have unemployment. You turn 65. You can't have Medicare,
Social Security, or Medicare.
Social Security.
No. Exactly. Anyway, so do either of you feel that you want to add something?
I just want to say I am so happy that this is the happiest I have been since 2000, since November 3rd, the night of November 3rd, November 8th, 2016, which was I thought the darkest night of our soul. And
we cried for 24 hours straight.
Yes. This is the happiest and
There's finally some hope.
Hopeful I've felt for this country in quite a while.
Yeah.
So
Obama, was great, and I adored him, but the pit into which we fell after that election with Trump as our president seemed almost insurmountable. Again, it's very hard to put the cat back in the bag, and he let a lot of nasty cats out into the world. Sorry, kitties.
Yeah, no, we need to change that metaphor. I love cats.
Okay, Pandora's box.
What I was going to say is we were talking about this cabinet that hopefully will be the most diverse and amazing cabinet ever.
Lots of women.
But, Mitch McConnell's already talking about blocking and that they're going to have to negotiate his cabinet.
So,
this was great, Jane.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, ladies, let's go celebrate.
We've been literally waiting 4 years for this.